And here we go.
Sports!
I listen to you guys all the time.
It's awesome.
I'm in the mood for one of your classic anecdotes.
Give yourselves a round of applause.
Hey guys, there is someone I want you to meet.
Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun on Off the Hook Sports. Represented by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer, Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net.
We're all part of the same team here.
Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
Well, it looked like to me those were two teams that belonged on the same field, 44-41, though. Georgia gets the win in overtime. We'll dive into it. A lot to get to on the program today. 4 downs will be, where does Georgia rank among the Vols' most heartbreaking losses this day in Tennessee sports history as well? The Vols' path now to the college football playoff. Bank on it. They can still make it. Stat of the day, SEC power rankings. We'll go hot or cold on that. And also, today's tough question, which will lead us into Caleb catching some flack, I have a feeling. But first, we'll tell you what the H will be. Did Saturday definitively prove Kirby Smart is a better in-game coach than Josh Heupel? I say heck no, but we'll dive into that and more. So today's tough question is now, how encouraged or discouraged should Tennessee be after the Georgia loss? Let's put this on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being incredibly encouraged. Caleb, 1 being discouraged. You just got beat 70-0. I think it's a 9, a 9.5. But you feel different, and I want you to explain why. Give me your take first, because I think that most people will say
that's hot,
but a little crazy. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, so I think that they should be encouraged offensively. I'm closer to like a 5 or a 6, and here's why. They should be encouraged offensively. They dropped 44 points. Georgia's defense has looked as good as ever up until Saturday.
Young season, but anyway.
Yeah, young season. Defensively, it's a mix. On paper, I don't think it's a big deal that they would give up 41 points to Georgia, because let's put this in perspective. Tennessee was playing without their top 2 cornerbacks, Jamal McCoy and Ricky Gibson III. Huge deal. They were playing without their top two of their top 3 defensive tackles, David Hobbs and Jackson Moy. So when you put that into perspective, you got 4 of your key guys out on defense. It's tough to win. And offensively, by the way, they still don't have David Sanders ready to go. So they're having to move Jesse Perry and keep him at right tackle, and the offensive line gets an A. Tennessee absolutely won the trenches with Georgia on Saturday. There's no question about that. The drawback is this.
Won the trenches on both sides, you would say.
Yes, on both sides. And the drawback is this.
I would agree.
The problem is we still don't think Georgia's offense was that good to begin with. I mean, this is an offense that dropped 28 points against Austin Peay. This is an offense in which Gunnar Stockton was making his first road start ever, and he looked like a Heisman contender. And you want to give him credit for that, but at the same time, even though Tennessee was banged up in the secondary, even though they had some issues, even though they had some injuries, there were just some issues that I still noticed are plaguing this program. I thought linebackers was going to be a strength for Tennessee this year. It wasn't on Saturday. Again, Arian Carter and Jeremiah Thielander keep getting torched in coverage, and they're experienced players at this point. That's too much of a red flag to me that I don't care about the cornerbacks being out. I don't care about the 2 defensive tackles being out. Aaron Carter and Jeremiah Thielander shouldn't be out of position that often on passing plays.
Now, a couple of comments. Angie says, good game and hats off to Tennessee. Refs did not determine this game whatsoever, so don't be that fan when it's not a good look. We love our coach. Best in college football. Great game. She's referring to Kirby Smart. Now, I would agree with that. I didn't think the refs had a huge factor, though I do believe, if you want to talk in-game coaching, that having the ref's ear is a factor. And I think that I think that clearly that more oftentimes than not, Kirby Smart had the ref's ear. Now, I think that helps. Angie says, Caleb, whatever, Gunner looked phenomenal, and we had hurt players too. All right, your answer to that, Caleb.
Well, yeah, that was my point. Yes, Tennessee had hurt players, But it still should be a red flag if Gunnar looked phenomenal, because don't forget, again, Gunnar Stockton was an absolutely atrocious player through the first 2 games of the year. And so I get Tennessee was banged up, but I mean, Dave, am I crazy? I think Tennessee's backup cornerback should be better than Austin Peay's starting cornerbacks.
Yeah, probably pretty close. I would say this. I will say that I saw 2 teams that look to be on the same level playing wise. And we'll get to the coaching aspect of it. But I do believe that both teams had equal talent level. So if that's encouraging or discouraging for you, let that be your barometer. But I think that's encouraging. I think Tennessee deserved to be on the field with Georgia. We can't say that's been the case the last 8-7 games. And I think there have been times where they have been clearly outmatched. That was not the case. Now, I do believe that the NIL has brought in a lot like free agency has brought Georgia back to the pack a little bit. I think some of this is college football changing as much as it is Tennessee changing. And I'd like your thoughts on that. But I will say that I do think that Georgia has come back to the pack a little bit. I don't think they're as dominant as they were during their run or Alabama was during their run.
Yes, I actually agree. And I think that's where I'm kind of landing on this too, is I think it more so has to do with the fact that Kirby Smart and Georgia have been brought back to the pack. You can't overwhelm with talent the way you could when Georgia won those 2 national titles anymore. That's just not possible. And I think that was really shown in the game on Saturday. Now, I want to add this. I want to put up front. I still think Tennessee is better than they have been offensively, even during the Hendon Hooker days. The biggest reason to me is we talk about receivers that dictate coverage all the time, Dave. The most underrated part of that game, he was the 3rd leading receiver, but the reason Tennessee was competitive with Georgia for the first time was Georgia had to account for Mike Matthews' speed on the outside, which opened things up for Chris Brazzell and Braylon Staley to do what they did.
True. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and Tennessee's never had a receiver yet that had the speed to dictate coverage the way Mike Matthews did. And so that opens up the possibilities on offense like I've never seen before. And that's why I say 6. I'm a 6 because they should be wildly encouraged about the offense. I mean, wildly. I'm going to say it again. This is the best offense since Josh Heupel's been at Tennessee. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it is.
That's pretty strong. I would go that far. But it's today's tough question. How encouraged or discouraged should the Vols be after the Georgia loss? Today's tough question is brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Today's tough question. Boom. You heard that. Now, take it. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones.
All right, there we go. Banks & Jones will take care of you. Go ahead and give me the rundown of the question as we have it, as we're going to phrase it. How encouraged or discouraged should the Vols be after the Georgia loss? And I apologize. I'm playing a little bit with a cold today, so I'm fighting through. But Caleb, give me an update as we go along, because next up is What the H, and What the H is brought to you by our good friends at the one, the only, Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. TedRussellFord.net, TedRussellLincoln.net. And it is definitely a What the H that's one for the ages, because Caleb's going a little bit off left field here.
What the H?
Wow, I never worked hard on anything. What a cool life.
For real? The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones. Banksandjones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
Okay, I think Saturday definitely proved that Kirby Smart is a better in-game coach than Josh Heupel. I think part of that's having the official's ear. I think part of that's making changes midstream. I think he's a better in-game coach. That's not to say that Josh Heupel can't beat him one day, and I don't think it's I don't think it's head and shoulders, so to speak, as what I use with my shampoo. But did Saturday definitively prove Kirby Smart is a better in-game coach than Josh Heupel? What the H? What say you?
Yes. And I mean, there's a few instances. You're in a shootout. You're locked in a shootout. And what happens in the first half? Kirby Smart goes for it on 2 4th downs, gets one of them. Josh Heupel has a 4th and 2 at midfield, and he punts. You can't do that in a shootout in these type of games. You got to go for it. That was the first one. And then at the end of the game, Tennessee strip sacks Georgia. They get the ball. They have it at the 34-yard line, the Georgia 34. Now, yes, Sam Pendleton commits a false start to bring it to the 39. Josh Heupel runs it 3 times to just set up for an easier field goal to make it 38-30. Anybody who has followed Kirby Smart at Georgia knows that if you give him a chance to tie the game, he's going to tie the game late or win the game. You have to put your foot on the throat right there. And Josh Heupel set on the field goal. Critical mistake.
Okay, but is it night and day? I mean, I do think he is a better in-game coach. We have to give him that until Josh Heupel beats him, and he will one day. I don't have any doubt of that. By the way, do you have any doubt that Josh Heupel will beat Kirby Smart on equal footing one day?
I think he will one day. I do. But look, I'm going to say this. And Dave, this is my really hot take. Nick Saban would have lost that game on Saturday. Nick Saban would have lost that game.
Tennessee or Georgia?
If he was at Georgia, he would have lost to Tennessee on Saturday. Kirby Smart makes better in-game tactical decisions than Nick Saban does. Nick Saban's better with preparation, the process, all that. But in-game decisions, in the moment, Kirby Smart's better. And all you have to do is look at that game versus the Alabama game of 2022, which Tennessee won. And I know a lot of you guys are going to point out that if Max Gilbert hits that field goal at the end, we're talking a different game, Tennessee wins. Well, why was Max Gilbert having to kick a field goal from the left hash mark 42 yards out? Because Josh Heupel tried to get cute with 7 seconds left, which resulted in a false start. And then after the false start, he settled for a field goal 42 yards out from the left hash mark when he could have tried to center it a little bit more. That was mismanaged by Josh Heupel. And so when you take that into account, there's no way around the fact that Max Gilbert, yes, he missed that field goal and he should have made it. And I'm not going to not knock him for that. But he should have, but Josh Heupel made that is the reason that was a more difficult kick than it should have been at the same time.
At the end of the day, let's quantify it like this. Let's go scale of 1 to 10 again. Let's say Georgia is Kirby Smart. Georgia's Kirby Smart is a 9 out of a 10 coach. Is that fair?
I think he's a 10 out of a 10.
Okay. 10 out of 10 right now. Nick Saban to me all time is 10 out of 10. But let's go 9 out of 9. 9 out of 10, just for the sake of argument. Then what's Josh Heupel? Josh Heupel's 7.5 or 8, isn't he?
Yeah, but you're just taking coaching overall. I'm talking about in-game management decisions. I'm not just talking preparation, practice, all that. I'm saying in the game, 60 minutes, who's better in-game decisions. I think Kirby Smart's definitively better. I mean, again, Josh Heupel, he's going to make my football IQ tomorrow. Those are questionable decisions he made. Very questionable decisions. You cannot punt it on 4th and 2 in the situation when he punted it in the first half. It's a shootout. You got to go for that. And then you can't sit on that 35-30 lead against Georgia. You're facing Georgia. It's not Butch Jones level mistakes, but it's
let me ask you this. Did it surprise you that he punted it there? Because it did me.
Yes, it shocked me in the first half. Yes, it was 4th and 2. They had just gotten a 7-yard gain to make it go from 3rd and 9 to 4th and 2. You go for it there. You're at the 49. You were up 21-14. You're seeing your lead slip away after being up 21-7. You gotta go for it right there. You can't let Georgia, get back in the game. And I don't know. If you don't have a 4th and 2 play and you're Josh Heupel and you're an offensive guru, that's really on you. That's a real big indictment. All
right. Sam says this: Josh Heupel with the same talent on his roster would smoke Kirby and Saban. Yay or nay?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he would.
I think he'd beat him.
I think he'd beat him, and I think Kirby would win some too, but I don't think he'd smoke him. So I think Josh Heupel. Look, there were just too many in-game mistakes made on Saturday for me to sit there and say he would smoke them. Again, Kirby Smart went for it on 2 4th downs. Josh Heupel punted on his only 4th down. Actually, Kirby Smart went for it on 3 4th downs. Josh Heupel punted on 1. that be the difference in the game right there on top of Josh Heupel sitting on the lead. It was a big problem. You cannot do those things.
Okay, at what point, though, do you have to determine what kind of a game you're in? Are you in a rough and tumble game, or are you in a high-scoring game? Because typically these games are rough and tumble games.
Yeah, but I think if it's 21-14 in the second half and you scored on all but one possession and Georgia scored on all but one possession, you know you're in a shootout at that point. You know you're locked in a shootout. And I think you need to go for it right there. And it's not just the going for it on 4th and 2 or the punting. Again, it's the sitting on the lead. Dave, how many times have you seen this Georgia team with Kirby Smart? They fiddle around for 45 minutes a lot of times in these games, don't they? And then the last quarter, they make a run what they need to do. And they've done it against far inferior teams in the past. You cannot give Georgia a chance to tie or take the lead.
All right, read Derek's comment if you don't mind. I'll take a sip of water.
Derek says that game was a heartbreaker. Period. The end of the second half, I was upset about Kitts dropped multiple passes during the most crucial drive. Oh yes, Miles Kutzman dropping a couple of passes. I agree, Derek. A couple of those. Look, Joey Aguilar wasn't the most accurate quarterback. I love his moxie. I love his gunslinger mentality, but he did throw a couple behind receivers at the same time.
Well, he threw 24 interceptions in his last 2 years at App State. So you knew that was going to happen. He was going to have accuracy issues, right?
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree.
David says, I think our generation's Spurrier, I know it's not Florida, but similar high-scoring offense and has a good defense. Don't think that's a bad comparison. Steve Spurrier won a championship and 2 SEC titles.
I don't know if I can go Heupel's this generation Spurrier. I used to go there, but Heupel runs a system. He really has like 3 or 4 plays in it, and he has an offensive system. Spurrier, they called it a system, the fun and gun, but Spurrier was just calling the game play to play, wasn't he? As a play caller.
I would say probably so. Again, today's tough question is what, Caleb? It's on our poll question right now.
Yes, the poll question is up. How encouraged should you be by Tennessee's loss to Georgia? Very encouraged, somewhat encouraged, discouraged. 75% say very encouraged.
See, there you go.
I said somewhat encouraged. That's why I said 6. I'm on the somewhat encouraged. You shouldn't be discouraged. I didn't say that.
Okay.
But
did Saturday's win definitely prove Kirby Smart is a better in-game coach than Josh Heupel?
Yes.
We discussed that. That is What the H, and it's brought to you by our fantastic friends at Ted Russell Ford. You need to check them out, tedrussellford.net, tedrusselllincoln.net. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 Volume 4 dealer.
Right now, get 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for 90 days on select models, plus 2 years complimentary maintenance.
Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
Stat of the day. They never lie. Or do they? Stat of the day. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Off the Hook Sports.
All right, what do you got for me? Stat of the day, Caleb.
Saturday, Tennessee's 21-7 lead over Georgia was the largest lead they had over Georgia since 2009 when Lane Kiffin had them beating Georgia 45-19.
That's painful.
Yeah.
I got another stat of the day. Before this latest win streak, Tennessee led the series against. Were you aware of that?
I was. Yep. But to be fair, the only reason they led the series was because Tennessee had their own 9-game win streak against Georgia from 89 to 99.
Well, and they had a guy named Ray Goff and Jim Donnan.
Yes,
that
exactly.
helps. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Hang tight. With Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker. More after this, including what, Caleb?
We're going to talk a little bit about Tennessee's path to the college football playoff, what they have to do now. And we're going to discuss where does this stand among Tennessee and Georgia, Tennessee's most heartbreaking losses of all time.
I don't think it's that hot, but we'll discuss. 2 minutes
cool.
off Dawgs Sports.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
Hello, ma'am. Here to look at that plumbing problem?
Oh boy. Yep. You're gonna need a whole new sink.
If this toilet is no good, you're gonna need a new one ASAP. You are not gonna believe this. You're all out of milk. Have you heard about our service plan?
I need to call Scott's.
Scott's Plumbing, your trusted neighborhood plumber since 1977.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
History.
It's cool, baby. It's cool.
Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun, Off the Hook Sports.
Caleb still doesn't get that reference, I don't think. Knowing's half the battle. You get that?
No, but I think I can figure that out. I mean, context clues. You got to know something. That's half the battle of doing anything, is knowing what you're doing.
No, but the context used to be G.I. Joe.
Oh, okay.
People can remember that, right? At the end of every G.I. Joe, they would go, knowing is half the battle.
That was a little bit before my time.
Yeah, just a little bit. All right, Caleb, what is our stat of the day? I'm sorry. Yeah, this day in Tennessee sports history.
On this day, 24 years ago, the Tennessee-Florida game was canceled due to 9/11, which was probably affected you personally. You were probably planning to fly to Gainesville that week, right? It was I remember Florida. It was right after Tennessee had beaten Arkansas the week before. Florida was a 12-point favorite, and I think we were all pretty certain Tennessee was going to lose because Tennessee, John Henderson was banged up. And the interesting thing about 9/11 is had it not happened and Tennessee had played Florida that week, they would have lost. But then when it got rescheduled and at the end of the year, Henderson was healthy, Stallworth was healthy, and then they won 34-32.
I don't even remember the specifics about the game. I remember just the sense of we're not going to have sports talk this afternoon. And we did not, 3-7. That's back when it used to be, hit like and subscribe to support those that we've lost. It's just a selfish way probably on my part to bring in more listeners. But I will say this. I just remember thinking we're not going to have sports talk today. Because that was back when you had Howler and Hilton Hill in the morning, you had a midday show, and then you had sports talk. And we did not have sports. And that was not where our country was at that current time. And I think in retrospect, that was the right decision. I remember we got criticized a lot because the next day we did have sports talk and we talked about whether or not they would have games. That was newsy at the time, I thought. And I still would defend that decision. But that's crazy that it's been that long. 24 years ago, is that right?
24 years ago. Yep. And for those who don't remember, all the other leagues had canceled and the SEC tried to still play football, and they got a lot of backlash for it. And then they took 2 days to cancel themselves.
Yeah, they did. And they got backlash for that. I felt for them a little bit because it just didn't feel like there was a right decision. I mean, in retrospect, that was the right decision. But man, didn't it just feel like there were a bunch of bad decisions and kind of like COVID? Our country just didn't know what to do for a short amount of time.
Yeah,
COVID, a long amount of time.
Yes, no, I agree. I agree. A lot of bad decisions. I mean, all the way up to the top. It's I agree with you on that. And with when you logistically it was just hard because you rescheduled and you got to push back the conference title game. You had to push back everything for the scheduling of college football that year because you had to reschedule that weekend of games.
Yep. 4 Downs is now, and it's brought to you by whom?
Ted Russell Ford.
There we go. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net.
Come on, guys, it's game time.
4 downs. Can you count 4 downs? 1, 2, 3, 4. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
All right, I want to hear from you on the message board. I'm just going to throw them out. Questions that we may have, and we've got some possible answers, but I ask you, where does that heartbreaking loss against Georgia rank against the most heartbreaking losses that Tennessee has ever suffered? I will just ask you that question, and you fill it out. And if you find one that beats ours, then we'll name you our big award winner. There we go. All right. So number 1 would be Caleb.
Come on, guys.
Whoa, it would be very heartbreaking. What do we got? First down. I'm having a little board issues. What do we got? First down.
Okay. So Tennessee's loss to Georgia is the Vols' most heartbreaking loss since. My number 1 would be Florida 2015. Now, many people would say Florida 2017 with the Felipe Franks Hail Mary. But the way that season unfolded and went 4-8, I don't call that heartbreaking because I'm like, Tennessee was horrible that year anyway. And I think they're kind of looking back, Tennessee fans are glad that happened because they wanted Butch Jones fired. But 2015 was heartbreaking because Florida converted 4 4th downs on a drive when they were trailing 27-14. And then they score a touchdown. Tennessee tries to sit on the lead with Butch Jones. They punt it back to Florida. Then Florida converts a 4th and 15 to go into the end zone for a score to make it 20-27. And then Tennessee misses a potential game-winning field goal. And that extended Florida's winning streak in the series over Tennessee to 11 games at the time. And it looked like Tennessee was just cursed with Florida.
All right. That's a pretty good one. We'll continue with hopefully second down. Let's see if we can get to second down. No, we can't. All right. So let's go ahead and go to second down. Trevor says the hobnail boot game. Where does that rank among your most heartbreaking losses in this very exciting, invigorating conversation?
That was a brutal loss for Tennessee. That if you talk about the way games ended, that was a brutal heartbreaker. I didn't have that on my list because I just, I look back and I think that one didn't really mean as much, but that in the grand scheme of things, but looking back, yeah, you have the screen to Travis Stevens, Dave, scores a touchdown. I think you guys you probably had your recap written at that point, didn't you?
Yeah.
In stance. You were like, it's ready to go. And then you should write a book of unpublished columns for games that should have happened.
Yeah, I'll just try to turn out the good stuff.
No, well, no,
because there's some clunkers in there. Trust me.
Yeah, but I mean, like because this happened to me on Saturday. I'm sure you had great columns written off a game and then the end changes and you can't write that column anymore.
Yeah.
And
by the way, Steve beat me to it. It has to be the 2001 loss to LSU in the SEC championship.
That is the worst loss in Tennessee history. But in terms of heartbreak, I'm talking about the way a game ended. You thought you had it won, and then you blew it at the end. Is what I'm talking about.
I'm with Steve on this one. I think
that's the worst loss in Tennessee history. But you thought you had it again. 2001 LSU dominated Tennessee in the second half of that game. I mean, just straight up beat them. I mean, they won 31-20. And so it's not like you look at Tennessee and like they led late and then they choked. No, they just lost that day.
Okay. Third down, Caleb.
What about 2000 Florida? The one where Jabbar Gaffney dropped the touchdown pass that was ruled a touchdown.
Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble for that one because I continued to play the cut from Tim Priest at the top of every hour, and it seemed like a lot if you listened to the show the whole time. But if you didn't, then it wasn't that much. But he dropped the ball. He dropped the ball or something that he said. I can't remember what it was exactly, but I just think it has to be the 2001 LSU game, at the SEC championship game. I mean that
wasn't a fluke loss though. That's what was so it's the worst loss in Tennessee history. Tennessee had the better team. They lost by 2 scores. Tennessee didn't choke on the final drive in that game or anything like that. It's not like Tennessee had the game won and blew it.
I need more convincing. What would you pick?
So, mine personally, I think the most heartbreaking in terms of what it meant for the season is this last one that we're about to name, which would be 4th down, which to me, I think is still the worst for Tennessee of all time, which is 1990 Alabama, the 9-6 game. That was not a good Alabama football team. And, Tennessee gets down to the red zone. I mean, by the way, if that blocked kick doesn't happen and Tennessee wins that game, there's a very good chance Tennessee's playing for the national championship at the end of the year in 1990. And so, that blocked Alabama kick is one of the, I think it's the worst since then because, again, they had Georgia beat.
So you're saying that you think Georgia is the worst since that game?
Because of how it ended, yes. Tennessee had 4 chances to beat Georgia. Don't settle for a field goal after the strip sack. Don't give up a 4th and 6. Don't give up the 2-point conversion. And don't miss the game-winning field goal. Any of those things go differently, they win that game. And because none of them went differently, Tennessee loses. It's because of the number of chances they had to beat Georgia. And if just one, it's like, I'm a big historian. I'm obsessed with the history of the Titanic. If just one thing goes differently, the Titanic survives. And the disaster doesn't happen. That's what happened in this one. Georgia had to convert a 4th down. They had to get the 2-point conversion. It required a false start penalty to push them out of field goal range or make a difficult field goal. And then Max Gilbert had to miss a field goal that he typically doesn't miss. So when you take that into account, it wasn't like Tennessee had this game won.
Well, the 9-6 game too, what you have to remember about that is that was the first game that I was at like an adult party. Like I was 6 years old or whatever I would have been. And I was at an adult party. I was like, man, these adults really get excited about this game here. And they've been, had to do with inebriation. But anyway, and I remember that game happened, and it was just like the air was sucked out of the room. Everybody went home. The party was over. So I do remember that game, surprisingly enough. I remember seeing it live. I'm sure you don't.
I don't. I was 2 years old. I don't remember it. It was a brutal, but I do know that that was one of the most brutal. I think this is up there because again, all the implications of it and all the ways Tennessee.
No, you can't go with the implications route. You got to take another route because I can give you 2001 LSU.
Well, okay, but yes, you're right. That's fair. You're right. Okay, so but in terms of the heartbreak, look, Tennessee had a chance. They were playing a top 5 team at home and they had them beat 4 different ways. They had them beat. Just one thing goes wrong. I mean, again, that's why I do the Titanic. If there's not the fire in the hull, if the captain's not going too fast in the iceberg field, if they have enough lifeboats, if any of those things happen, they survive on the Titanic. It's that with Tennessee. Don't give up the 4th down. Don't give up the 2-point conversion. Don't commit a false start when you're about to kick a game-winning field goal with 7 seconds to go. And don't miss the game-winning field goal. Any of those things happen, Tennessee wins the game. So I think that's where it's brutal. That's where it's just, wow, that's the crazy part, is that Tennessee had multiple, all they had to do is have one of those things turn out differently. And that's why I said you don't sit on a 35-30 lead and give Georgia the ball back down only 1 score, because it is a Kirby Smart-led Georgia team. And Kirby Smart is always going to find a way to win.
When did you get the feeling that Tennessee was going to lose that game?
Oh, the second Josh Heupel set on the lead with after they got the strip sack. The second he decided to sit on the lead and settle for the field goal, I got the feeling they were going to lose that game. I just know Georgia's history. You don't give them the ball back trailing by 1 score. That is Kirby Smart lives for those moments. That's why I said, if it was Nick Saban, I would have said do it. I've said for a while, Dave, maybe you know more than I do. I can't think of a really close back and forth game where Nick Saban's coaching one out. I think Nick Saban prepared better, schemed better, but I never trusted him as much in in-game moments. Kirby Smart, I think, is always going to make the right decision in-game.
Yep. Comment on the message board. Yes, I am alive. You do not want pneumonia. Just trust me on that. And I will add this. How about that 96 Memphis game?
Funny story on that. That's the first game. I think that's the first Tennessee game my older brother went to because we're from Memphis. My middle school gym teacher was the brother of the guy who returned that kickoff that was clearly down at the time.
Down by an elbow.
Down by an elbow. Yep. That was one of the funnier ones. But yeah, the reason, again, that Memphis did have a final game-winning drive, and I think you look back and you're like, that was heartbreaking in the moment. Like, how do you let Memphis go down the field and beat you the way they did? But yeah.
Coming up, Tennessee does have a path to a national championship. We will illustrate that. We'll look back on the weekend as well.
2010
SEC
LSU.
power
Sorry,
rankings.
we do have to mention. We have to mention 2010 LSU. 13 men on the field. You thought Tennessee won the game, and
yeah.
I mean,
that has to be mentioned. But that's that's a doofus thing.
Who was the bigger doofus, Dooley or Chuck Smith?
Oh, Chuck Smith. But they were close. They were hand in hand. They were good buddies. 2 minutes off Dawgs Sport.
It's a new year, a new day, and Ted Russell Lincoln has an exciting new offer to share. Right now, get a 2024 Lincoln Navigator with 0% APR for 72 months and up to $4,000 in bonus cash. Or drive away in a new 2024 Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring with 0% APR for 60 months and up to $4,500 in bonus cash. It's time to get excited about the ride. Come and see what a luxury car experience truly is at Ted Russell Lincoln Knoxville.
Hello, ma'am. Here to look at that plumbing problem? Oh boy. Yep. You're gonna need a whole new sink.
If this toilet is no good, you're gonna need a new one ASAP. You are not gonna believe this. You're all out of milk. Have you heard about our service plan?
I need to call Scott's.
Scott's Plumbing, your trusted neighborhood plumber since 1977.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vols collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
A guy with a lot of jobs, but this one is the most important.
This is not government work. As such, I treat it with care and attention.
Until someone else calls. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
Let me ask you a question, not to go off kilter here, but should we be blaming Tim Banks, Tennessee's defensive coordinator, or Max Gilbert more?
Oh, between the two, Max Gilbert and my blame pile on Saturday, I didn't even put Tim Banks on there. I put Josh Heupel. I don't understand this blaming of Tim Banks that people are doing. Tim Banks was without his top 2 cornerbacks and 2 of his top 3 defensive tackles. I mean, he's going to have to, he had to play soft coverage in certain instances because, again, there were just moments where, and look, I'll just say this up front. And I said this going into the year, the safeties are bad. Tennessee safeties are bad. They need their cornerbacks fully healthy. Andre Turntine and Idris Root can't play. And I said that about Turntine for 3 years now.
This game was almost an identical copy of 22 Bama. I think if we had went to overtime with Bama, we would have lost that one as well. You?
I think there was a little more momentum with the Bama game than this one. I think the way it ended was just because you expected overtime with Alabama because Tennessee got the ball with 15 seconds left. It was a miracle that they got to try a game-winning field goal. Tennessee worked the clock and got a solid game-winning drive to set up the field goal. And then you have the false start and then the miss. I just think the win was out of the sails. And I think Tennessee was just too tired in overtime. They aren't as deep as Georgia. They don't have the horses. They were as deep.
Whoa. I don't agree with that. I think they're close.
In the trenches, because they were banged up on the defensive line, they weren't as deep. So Georgia, by that point, was able to overwhelm them in overtime. The defensive line could only go so long in that game because.
Okay, but Banks gave up 20 unanswered points in 17 minutes.
Yes, I mean, but you knew it's Georgia. You knew that was going to happen, and Gunnar Stockton played well. And again, he was without his top two of his top 3 defensive tackles, and he was without his top 2 cornerbacks. I mean, that's a big deal. A lot of this, they don't have good safeties. The safeties on this team are bad. So, I mean, that's a big weakness for Tennessee this year.
I want to make it today's tough question. Who you blame more, Tim Banks or Max Gilbert? I mean, or the refs. I have trouble blaming the refs in any game.
Didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah,
loss.
I don't think so either. I think that's an easy thing people say. So let's just make it. Let's make it Max Gilbert or Tim Banks. Who do you think will win that?
I think Max Gilbert still. But we'll see. I think it's Max Gilbert. Max Gilbert's capable of making those field goals. He nailed a 48-yarder earlier. I mean, you're particularly now as a kicker, you're on an NIL budget. You got to hit that field goal.
Okay. Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank, is Tennessee can still make a national championship. What has to happen? What do they have to do? I'm not talking about win out. That's a given. But specifically, what do they have to do? What has to happen for Tennessee to make a national championship? Because technically, they could lose another game and still make the college football playoff.
Yes, they can lose one more game. Now, they've got 4, I think, circle games that they need to be careful with. And in those 4 games, they have to go 3-1. The first game that they have that is a circled game is in 2 Saturdays from now at Mississippi State. Dave, I when you were out, I made a prediction that Tennessee would beat Georgia and lose to Mississippi State this year. They lost to Georgia, but that still makes Mississippi State difficult. Mississippi State beat Arizona State a week ago, who made the college football playoff last year. Tennessee has to visit them. They have to visit Mississippi State. Josh Heupel's not a good coach on the road. We have seen that time and time again. So with that in mind, I think Mississippi State is going to be a much tougher game than people think. And the game time is not yet set, but if that's a night game, Tennessee's in even bigger trouble. So Mississippi State's their first tough one. Their next tough one is Alabama. I mean, no shock there. Alabama on the road. I know they lost the first week, but Tennessee going to Alabama. You're not. I think still you'd pick Alabama right now if you were better in that one.
That one's closer because I think the Kalen DeBoer cat calls are beginning to come out.
I think so too, but it's still that was still a little bit tricky. But yeah, so there's Alabama. Then you got Oklahoma at home. Oklahoma all of a sudden is.
Steve disagrees with your Mississippi State stuff.
Have you guys ever been to Starkville when Mississippi State is good and those cowbells? They are tough. It can
be a tough place to play. Go ahead.
Yes, it's a very tough place to play. So I'm just saying, watch out for that. Now, Alabama we talked about, and then there's Oklahoma, and then at the end of the day, guys, I know Billy Napier's done. It's over for him. He's getting fired. But do you really trust Tennessee in the swamp? Even with Florida being a bad football team, given the history of this series?
I do.
I don't. I can't trust them. Josh Heupel on the road, Josh Heupel at night, Tennessee, Florida in the swamp. I think I just have a really hard time believing Tennessee is good. Tennessee has to go 3-1. They got to go 3-1. So the question, Dave, Mississippi State, Alabama, Oklahoma, Florida. Which 3 are they most likely to win?
Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Florida.
So Alabama's the one that if you pick them to lose a game, it would be Alabama.
Yeah, and I think they'll win out.
You're still calling 11-1?
Yeah, I am.
At which point they'll get a rematch with Georgia in the SEC title game, much healthier, which would be very intriguing.
Well, yeah, if they do, I mean, I think that's a natural sidebar, but I do think they'll win.
Okay.
I thought what I saw on Saturday was a very, very good football team that was one of the elite teams in the nation. I really believe that.
I think it's all going to come down to making sure they can beat Mississippi State in 2 Saturdays from now. Because again, I don't think if you're Josh Heupel, the injuries you have, Jackson Moy, David Hobbs, David Sanders, and your top 2 cornerbacks, ideally you'd like to keep them out until the bye week after Mississippi State, wouldn't you?
Yeah, let's make that a poll question if we can. And also, which of the players do you think Tennessee misses the most right now? I think it's Jermon McCoy, and I don't think it's close.
Oh, it's absolutely. I totally agree with you. It's Jermon McCoy. By the way, the Max Gilbert Tim Banks was 50-50.
Right down the pipe.
Right
That's
down the mud. Yep. What is Tennessee's toughest remaining game? Well, obviously David's Kentucky, right? I'm kidding.
Now Smoky Mountain Red said something that he's being silly, but I do want to address it. I'd be concerned about the Florida game. If they fire Billy, the team could rally around him. That's true. You don't want a team that's in flux. You don't want a team that just hired a new coach. You don't want a team that has just fired a coach. I mean, that's not what you want. You don't want that. So if at all possible, I would try to avoid that.
Yes, I agree. And so let's break that. It's funny you say that because I'm looking at Florida's schedule now. They're 1-2. They're visiting Miami this week. They're going to be 1-3. They host Texas. They're going to be 1-4. They visit Texas A&M. They're going to be 1-5. And then they host Mississippi State. They might be able to win that game because it's in the swamp. So they might be able to beat Texas or Mississippi State, at which point they'll be 2-5. They play Georgia. They're going to lose. They'll be 2-6. But if they fire Billy Napier at that point and they visit Kentucky, visit Ole Miss, what if they just have a strong finish to the season to try to get to a bowl game?
But is he a player's coach? I mean, is he a guy that you want to win for? He doesn't seem like it to me.
I think he's a player's coach in the negative connotation. But players respect him because, in a way, players like him in the way that you shouldn't. Billy Napier. Okay, here's a good one for you. He's a player's coach the way Jerry Green was a player's coach, or the way Barry Switzer was a player's coach. The way Barry Switzer, he was a player's coach, right? And the players loved Barry Switzer, but they kind of needed Jimmy Johnson, didn't they? And so, yeah, I think that's where Billy Napier is, because Billy Napier keeps all of his promises to all of his players. He's kind of known for that, and to his credit, in a high character way. But yeah, it's we're gonna have to see how that works out long term.
All right. So what's our poll question now?
What is Tennessee's toughest remaining game? At Mississippi State, at Alabama, Oklahoma, at Florida? Should I give you the answer?
Yes.
It's at right now at Alabama is leading with 73%. At Oklahoma is 23%. At Florida is 5%.
Okay. Coming up, SEC Power Rankings, hot or cold. Also, we look back on the week. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford, Ted Russell Lincoln studio, tedrussellford.net, tedrusselllincoln.net. Stay tuned. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer.
Right now, get 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for 90 days on select models, plus 2 years complimentary maintenance.
Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vols collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at NFC1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
And here we go.
It was a huge waste of time, like bringing a married guy to Vegas.
Then there's this guy, the Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer, Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
We missed a super chat. Caleb, what do we miss?
Yes, Sandra Strux asked, what do we think about the huge recruit Big O? That is Olivia Edwards, who is a commitment to the Lady Vols. 6'3", the #2 ranked recruit in the 2026 recruiting class. Kim Caldwell is racking up elite recruits. She might have another #1 class in 2026 after a #1 class in 2025. It is pretty epic what she's doing on the trail right now.
You know, it's funny too. I thought she would get a bunch of shooters, but you know, this is a post player, so that to me was impressive. That she's able to go out and get those. Yeah, she's killed it. And if you, I mean, can't say this because of money and finances, but if you had to pick the best coach and one that you had to keep, it would have to be her, right?
Tony Vitello, probably, but like,
yeah. Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. If you're talking, if all sports were equal, then yes, it'd be Tony Vitello. Then I think it would be her. I mean, honestly, I think I have more confidence in her having success at her level in her field than even Josh Heupel in his field with football. I think Kim Caldwell is going to look. I told you guys this is going to be a young Lady Vols team this year. They're going to have a few bumps and bruises because they have so many young players, but I think they're going to have a Final Four run by the time March comes next year.
Okay, I feel like I'm forgetting something. SEC power rankings and then week 3 recaps. What we got left, right?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay, power rankings are now. Are they hot?
That's hot.
Or cold? Let's start with Tennessee. What do you think about the Vols? They cannot be hot, but
that's hot.
I will kind of say they're still hot. I mean, this is if I'm Josh Heupel, I'm encouraged by the way my team played for me. I'm encouraged by a lot of things. I'm upset that they lost, but I'm not downtrodden. I used to call Monday the what ifs Monday. Well, that's not the case anymore. Tennessee didn't get hammered by Alabama or hammered by Georgia or hammered by Florida. They got beat by Alabama or by Georgia. So I'm going to say that Tennessee's still hot. I'll still say they're hot despite the fact they lost.
Yeah, I got them 5th in my SEC power rankings right now. And so I think they're doing well. So look, I'm still, Tennessee at 5th in my power rankings I got no issues with that. They're still hot to me.
Okay, so they're hot. Who is, you want to start the coldest or hottest?
We'll count down from 16 to 1.
16 to 1. Here we go.
All right, so South Carolina, number 16, just lost at home to Vanderbilt 31-7. And now with Lenora Sellers hurt, they're in some serious trouble right now with Shane Beamer.
Yeah, that may be Shane Beamer's last year there.
Yeah, big trouble for South Carolina. 15 is Kentucky. I get they blew out Eastern Michigan. I don't care. I think Kentucky's still the second worst team in the SEC right now. This is my bottom tier. These are all in one bad tier, but South Carolina 16, Kentucky number 15.
That's hot.
I think that's hot that you would say that over Vanderbilt. But Vanderbilt won, so there we go.
Yeah. And all right. And then number 14 for me is obviously Florida. They're 1-2. I get Florida's got a brutal schedule, but sorry, they're 1-2 and they've lost at home to South Florida. And I think Florida's going to be 1-7 before they win a game, maybe. So they could be they're in so much trouble. Billy Napier's done. It's over.
I'll use this just because I like the way it sounds.
That's hot.
To agree with you.
Yeah,
that's hot.
Yep. Sounds good to me. All right, number 13. Excuse me. I don't know how I'm unable to count right now. I'm Butch Jones, I guess. But number 13 is Arkansas. They put up a fight against Ole Miss. Maybe this is a little too harsh because I do love that offense with Talon Green, but I've got them at number 13, largely just because there's so many teams in this packet in the SEC. The SEC 1 through 16 this year is, it's almost like SEC basketball was with how deep it is.
I don't know that's that deep, but I see where you're going. No, I'm not going to. I like Talon Green more than that. I like that offense more than that, as you mentioned. So I'm not going to give you a that's hot on that. So no Paris Hilton.
Oh, man, no Paris Hilton for me.
Right.
That's okay. Maybe I'll get Bonnie Blue instead. For those who don't know, Bonnie Blue is the OnlyFans star that had sex with 1,000 men in a day, I think.
Go ahead.
All right. Number 12. And am I unfair on this? Because of how they won, but Vanderbilt's number 12. They blew out South Carolina 31-7, but it was 14-7 before Lenora Sellers got hurt. So are we really sure that that 31-7 blowout is indicative of some great program that Clark Lee's building with Diego Pavia?
No, because you lose a Lenora Seller, and unlike other programs, I've seen this happen before at Tennessee. When you're that type of program that's building, you lose one guy and it's over. So no. You're not exaggerating. As a matter of fact,
that's hot.
I will give it a that's hot because I agree with you. You're right. They were just up 14-0, right? Before
it was 14-7.
14-7. That's a game before that. And Lenore Sellers may lead them to victory. We don't know. And then it just goes south and something like that gets hurt. And I agree with David. Let's keep it PG-13, Caleb. Come on. All right, go ahead, Caleb.
All right. So, oh man, we're not going to put the message up, but man, I love Derek's little joke right there. Okay. So, anyways, number 12 is, number 11 is Texas. Texas is looking ugly. It's going to be one of my takeaways soon enough, but I think now, I didn't say this with the loss at Ohio State because that's a tough first game, but yeah, there's some red flags about Arch Manning that it's time to raise after how he played last weekend.
Yeah, there's some big time red flags, and I'm not sure that he's their answer at quarterback for the foreseeable future.
I think he made them. I think it was a mistake to go play for Sark, but that's just me.
No, I can see that.
Number 10 is Mississippi State. Mississippi State, they still have that Arizona State win in their back pocket. They beat Alcorn State 63-0 this past weekend. They are undefeated. I understand what people are talking about with Arizona State now being significantly worse than we thought they were. But at the same time, they're 3-0, and they will be 4-0 when they host Tennessee because they're about to play Northwestern. And guess what? They're going to win that game too.
Yep, agreed.
Number 9. Wait, I'm gonna get a Paris Hilton when you agree with me.
Sorry,
that's hot.
Wow. Okay. Anyways, number 9.
Remains here. Hit like and subscribe.
So Auburn number 9. I got Auburn number 9. They're still in great shape with Jackson Arnold, but the only reason they dropped is because they had an ugly game on Saturday. Now it was an ugly game because they took the weekend off. They're 3-0. They knew they were going to beat South Alabama, but they should have beaten them by more than 31-15. So because of that, Auburn is down to number 9 in our SEC power rankings, even though they're 3-0 right now.
That's hot.
Okay, I'll roll with that.
Missouri is number 8, 3-0. Bo Prabula looks again like a Heisman contender. He didn't do it as much this past weekend, but I think that's because they had such control of the game. They kind of called it.
That's hot.
All right.
We got number 7. Alabama. Guys, don't sleep on it, but Alabama's offense looks, after that tough loss to Florida State to open the year, the offense looks like it's coming along, and I'm not ready to jump off the Kalen DeBoer ship yet.
I am, because I don't think they play tough enough defense. So we're kind of saying the same thing, but we're disagreeing with how bad it could get before they fire you.
That's hot.
All right.
Fair enough. All right. So number 6, Ole Miss. Look, they only beat Arkansas by 6, but it was a win at Arkansas. That's a tough game to play, tough place to play. The offense was humming, and Lane Kiffin is proving that. I mean, he's making Ole Miss a factory of, like, almost farm system, just roster turnover every year. But he puts like Heisman candidates out there at quarterback, it seems like, and almost had their backup quarterback in with Trinidad Chambliss, and he threw for 353 yards and a touchdown and ran for 62 yards.
Well, no, wait. Trinidad Chambliss is really good. I told you there might be a quarterback situation there.
Yes, that is true, but I'm just saying that Ole Miss is Ole Miss is just very, very, very good. It's a really, really, really good football team, and Lane Kiffin once again has a college football playoff contender.
All right, Derek, I'm not going to fire Caleb because of the body blue comment. Go ahead, Caleb. Who's next?
All right, number 5. I already said Tennessee's at number 5. I think that
that's hot.
Yep. Number 4, Oklahoma. I mean, I don't want to believe in the Brent Venables thing, but I can't look past the Michigan win and the fact that Oklahoma is. I mean, John Mateer is looking like an elite quarterback in the SEC right now. There's no way around that. So, Oklahoma's number 4.
No, I don't have a problem with Oklahoma being 4. But at the end of the day, if these are power rankings, I believe that Tennessee and Georgia are both better football teams. So if they're power rankings, then I can't roll.
Yeah, but if the power rankings are based on what you've done to a certain degree, nobody can look at the 2 and say they wouldn't favor Oklahoma over Tennessee on a neutral field right now. That won't hold, but yeah. All right, number 3, LSU. I mean, the win at Clemson, they just beat Florida. They've got now both of those programs are now looking to be significantly overrated, but still they're getting the wins, and even if they're ugly, they're winning and they're 3-0. So LSU's number 3.
That's hot.
Right.
Number 2, they cheated, but Texas A&M still won at Notre Dame 41-40. So
that's hot.
All right, and you're going to say Georgia's number 1.
Yes, and Georgia is very obviously number 1. And to be fair, this is a big compliment to Tennessee because I think Tennessee's a very good team. I picked Tennessee to win on Saturday. To go into Neyland Stadium with the hype Tennessee had in that game and to pull out the win the way they did, we talk about the mistakes Tennessee made, and there's always mistakes, but you got to give Gunnar Stockton credit for being clutch like that at the end of the game.
No, I agree. I agree. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com, broadcasting live from the Ted Russell Ford, Ted Russell Lincoln Studios, tedrussellford.net, tedrusselllincoln.net, and we got our national week 3 recap as well. Caleb, what do you got?
All right, week 3 recap. Let's go. My first recap is the game on Saturday. Georgia proves they are still the class of college football, but the Vols are right there.
Totally agree. Yeah. It was the game of the weekend.
Exactly. Notre Dame is done as a college football playoff contender this year. They're 0-2. They don't have a chance to, even if they go 10-2, they're not going to get enough quality wins. It's over for them. They're not getting. But A&M is a legit contender now with Mike Elko. And
agreed.
That's a great
and
team.
I think you and I have liked Elko the whole time. It took him a little bit longer to build him up than I thought they would, but I think he's a very good coach.
Yeah, I agree. Alrighty. Dabo Swinney losing to Georgia Tech. The Dabo Swinney run is over at Clemson. This is a bad Clemson team. I told you guys at the beginning of the year that Cade Klubnik is really overrated. He's showing it. I want to ask if Georgia Tech's legitimate. They've got 2 Power 5 wins against Colorado and Clemson, but I think both of those teams are overrated this year, honestly.
No argument with that. What else you got?
All right. The next one. LSU, yes, they're 3-0, but they are the most confusing 3-0 team in college football right now because their wins over Clemson and Florida don't look that impressive anymore because neither one of those teams looks like they're good.
No. This is the time of the year where we figure out who people really are. And, to some extent, we're jumping the shark a little bit saying that Tennessee's still a dominant football team. I think they are, but, let's see what Syracuse does and Appy does and on down the line. But what else you got, Caleb?
Yep. All right, here we go. Here's an interesting one. Miami is off to another hot start, just like last year. Beating Notre Dame and South Florida to open the year is pretty impressive. South Florida is still my group of 5 favorite to make the college football playoff, even after the loss to Miami, because you can't look past the wins over Boise State and Florida. But Miami is off to another hot start. I just don't know if they'll finish it with Carson Beck.
I think they will. I like Carson Beck. I like his confidence. I like the way he plays. I watched him a lot this season. And yeah, I think he's playing with a different set of cojones. I mean, saying so.
Alrighty. The top quarterbacks of the 2023 recruiting class both look like busts. And we're obviously talking about Arch Manning and that one in UCLA, Nico Iamaleava, who they lost to New Mexico over the weekend. They're 0-3. And as you saw, Dave, UCLA just fired its head coach into Deshaun Foster. Was talk about literally fumbling the bag to go play for that program.
No, I agree. What else, Caleb?
A couple more, and then I'll give you my Heisman race in top 10. Alabama and Ole Miss quietly racking up quality wins, and also Vanderbilt looks like they could be a decent team. Do not sleep, though, on Alabama after that loss to Florida State. They're quiet, and that was a good win over Wisconsin. They look like they could be better than you think, and you never overreact to week one. That's the rule of life.
Agreed.
And so finally, my Heisman race. Marcel Reed's atop it now with Texas A&M, doing what he did at Notre Dame. He's my Heisman leader. Luke Altmaier at Illinois. Gunnar Stockton at Georgia. Gunnar Stockton looked mediocre until last weekend. Doing what he did at Tennessee in a game like that, that's a Heisman moment. He's in my race. Carson Beck's in my Heisman race. And Dante Moore at Oregon are my Heisman leaders right now.
Great stuff. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm
wait,
Dave Hooker. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Last thing, my top 10. Georgia 1, LSU 2, Miami 3, Ole Miss 4, Iowa State 5, Georgia Tech 6, Illinois 7, Texas A&M 8, Oklahoma 9, and Florida State 10.
All right. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios. Have a fantastic day, everyone. A little bit cut short today because I'm under the weather. I'll be back in full force as of tomorrow. Have a fantastic week, everyone. Full coverage on Tennessee on offthehooksports.com.